In episode 16, Felipe may be headed back from the couple's retreat single. Mecca has one more time to come sideways at Belle before he loses his wife. And somehow Devin was supposed to know that Caitlyn was giving him the green flag to go ahead with physical touch, despite not wanting any contact with him for the last 6 weeks. So Shawn has also started taking showers, but doesn't know when to stop talking, which is his downfall with Nikki. Why would Shawn tell Nikki that she's a Seattle 10 but a New York 7? Sir, have you seen yourself lately? I don't think that's something you should be saying. Hi guys, welcome into That's So Trending. My name is Belle. We are going to run through episode 16, all the mishaps and foolishness that took place on this couple's retreat. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications for more of these reality TV and pop culture recaps. Let's start with Felipe and Tori. Felipe still doesn't understand why Tori could be mad at him. After leaving the dinner, he says that he wishes she would have stood up for him more and come to his defense. Tori makes it clear, that's not my job to defend you when you made your bed hard, so now you have to lay in it with the other couples. Yes, they're holding you responsible for the things that you said. In Tori's own words, you can only be considerate for so long without being considered. And he does not consider her feelings when he says things like, I'd rather be hooking up with other women, and I'm not sure if I even want to be married to you. Felipe says if we're going to be partners, we have to start acting like it. Exactly, Felipe. I'm gonna let you start first though, okay? You start acting like a partner to Tori so she can start showing up as one to you. Because being a partner doesn't mean blind loyalty to any mistreatment or misdeeds that come from you. I'm sorry, she does not owe you that. And in this conversation, Tori's trying to get him to understand that I need you to start considering me when and how your behaviors reflect poorly on the both of us sometimes. Felipe doesn't seem to understand that because he is evaluating it based on the things that he's did, not in the ways that he acts. And so, of course, production is messy. So when they get down to the couples retreat, they're going to play a game that makes things even worse. So they get there and they play the most likely spouse game, where you pull a question and the group has to point out the person most likely to do the behavior, most likely to cheat with a waitress, most likely to hook up in a public space, most likely to lie about where they were at night, most likely to put their foot in their mouth, and most likely to never be ready for marriage. All went to Felipe. And to not make things uncomfortable, Tori just had to laugh, grin, and bear in front of the group, but she was clearly irritated. Now, Felipe, on the other hand, was basking in the joy of winning at this game, which was basically calling him a terrible partner. And you can't tell me production did not write those questions specifically for him. They knew this was some mess. Tori does look over at Felipe and remind him it's not a good thing to win this particular game. And Felipe is still basking in the joy of winning. He takes a shot out of the actual trophy that he wins and does a victory lap. She leaves and goes upstairs because she's that annoyed with him and he can't read the room. Felipe eventually goes looking for her, and they have this conversation in the bed where she's basically going in circles asking him to consider her, how she feels to hear that her husband is a womanizer and everyone thinks that he's going to cheat or he just doesn't want to be married to her, and how it hurts her feelings. He's yelling at her though, and somehow Felipe is trying to flip this on Tori for caring what other people think about them and their marriage. Then Tori says the key words, I signed up to be a wife, not a mother. Baby, you got a man child. I don't know what to tell you, girl. You just need to walk away from this because it's not going to get better. Felipe has shown you time and time again that he has no compassion and he does not desire to care for your heart or your emotions. So as long as the good times are still rolling, he'd rather be there than caring for you. Then the key words finally come out. Maybe we're not compatible. And that's a winner right there. That is what you guys needed to be saying all along. You're not compatible. And Tori says you can go back to single life now, which should have made him happy. So he walks out like everything's fine. From my perspective, him walking out was another sign to her that they are not compatible and they shouldn't try again in this marriage. Because aftercare, when you have a breakup, is so important, and at his big age, after a huge relationship separation like this, which is a marriage, you would think he would take more care with her. He did not. He went to go cry in another man's arms downstairs. He didn't have any emotion for his wife, but he was very vulnerable with the other men. That would be the last straw for me. So We've covered the fact that Tori and Felipe have basically set their marriage on fire. Between the couples dinner and the couples retreat, they're just not doing well. We're gonna go right into Belle and Mecca for this episode because they also are in a very terrible space after the couples dinner. At that couples dinner, Mecca let Belle know that he didn't find her attractive enough for him on their wedding day, but attraction has grown with time. But coming home, for some reason, Mecca thought everything was gonna be good, and she was letting him know, no, it's not cool. How you spoke to me was not okay. And she basically iced him out for the night, said, give me some space, I'm going to bed. And I just feel like Mecca doesn't even take her seriously at this point because he's gotten away with so much with Belle. And I love that she's self-aware enough to know that this relationship just doesn't fit her needs, because she says in her confessional, a man that truly cares about you won't say anything like that to you. And that is so true. Nobody is going to embarrass you when they don't have to. He went out of his way to say something like that when it did not need to be said. You're allowed to have preferences. But I've said this before, coming into Married at First Sight or any other blind dating situation with expectations that are up to here, and then you not even meeting your own expectations of your partner is not logical. When it comes to attraction, you don't have to put people on a performance review, and you already married this person. So what good does it do you to put them through all types of tests and loops before you commit? Just say you're not interested and step away, or fully lean into the process. At the hot tub, they have to have this forced conversation about it because she reminds him that he said, you're not pretty enough for me. Mecca says that's crazy, rude, and disrespectful. Exactly why she has a problem with you, Mecca. And he tries to deny it until the camera plays it back. Now, they don't play it back for them, but he does admit, yeah, I did say that, and I apologize because that was so disrespectful. I do appreciate an apology, but what are you going to do to stop the behavior? And I love the fact that the producers actually asked that question. Do you think this is self-sabotage? And Mecca, self-reflective in the moment, was able to say it probably is. Because I've always messed it up in the past, and I'm just trying to beat myself to the punch, basically. Belle does tell Mecca that this is not the first time she's had to digest comments about her that were not very kind in their delivery. And that's the important part of this context, is that this is not the first time he slipped up. And now you got Belle sitting on edge, wondering if her husband is going to do or say something to embarrass her, or if he's going to say something that really hurts her feelings every chance that he gets, and just apologize and wash it away like nothing ever happened. When Mecca does apologize, he says, I know I'm better than this, but it keeps happening. And y'all heard that, right? Because what he's really saying is that I have poor impulse control. And the two sentences are really fighting each other, because if you're better than that, then why don't you choose to show up better than that for your wife, who's the person that's supposed to be with you no matter what, and you can't show up better for her? Then who are you going to show up better for? And Belle can't really build a marriage with a version of Mecca that he says is deep down somewhere. She can only build a relationship with the man that he's able to show her. And this version of Mecca is not his best self, and she deserves better. Now, of course, this conversation comes up at the couples retreat, and Mecca is willing to throw himself out there and say, I messed up this week. I told Belle I didn't find her attractive. And Cameron asks, is she your dream girl? He says, no, but is Michelle your dream girl? Cameron said, yeah, everything I wanted and more. So that didn't go where Mecca thought it was going, right? And so here comes Adam. Well, what's your type? He said he's non-discriminate when it comes to race, but he did want his wife to be a little thicker. Adam says she can just get implants. I'm sorry, why did you think that was appropriate? Adam, why are you here in this conversation? Even Cameron can't believe his ears. He's in a confessional saying, I'm not used to this level of superficiality, so this is just so immature to me. Exactly, Cameron. Exactly. And that's why Cameron and Michelle are in a happier situation. And then I hear Belle in her confessional saying, I still like him, but I have to do what's best for me. And this is where Mecca should be nervous, because I know they announced that they were going to say yes on decision day, but she's reevaluating if saying yes and being married is worth being hurt on a regular basis by a man that says he loves you. Basically, we leave off with Mecca and Belle having very different opinions of what showing up in a loving way actually is. And then there's a couple that has zero love for each other, and that's Caitlyn and Devin. Caitlyn and Devin haven't even kissed since their time on the honeymoon. And all the couples are in shock by that. Caitlyn tells Devin that attraction comes from being seen and understood, and I feel like he has done all of that for Caitlyn, so I'm a little bit confused about what her issue is there. She does say that there is desire there because she finds him attractive, so I'm also confused why they can't cuddle. I don't know why there's no hand holding or kisses or hugs throughout the day. It's just weird, right? So all of that, and then she says, well, maybe the couples retreat is a place to explore. That's a development I didn't see coming, and Devin isn't going to see it coming either. Poor Devin is finally clocking into the reality of his situation with the help of the men, because he's blaming everything on cameras, production, her being shy in front of the cameras, and that's the only reason why they're not progressing. And Adam was like, no, I've seen y'all with the cameras off and she don't give you time or attention or affection. She's on her phone, you're trying to invite her in and be close with her, and she's not having it. The problem is that Caitlyn's words don't match up to her actions, because you can't tell me you have desire, you like him, he's kind, he's the best boyfriend you've ever had, and yet there's no desire to be anywhere near that man or talk to him or interact with him unless this was all for television. I don't understand the appeal of being in a relationship like this, where there's zero communication outside of when it's required. Then when they play the most likely spouse game, did y'all realize the person most likely to get the ick and to switch partners was going to be Caitlyn? Devin did not like that, baby. Devin did not like that at all. And I think at this point in the process, Devin's just wondering why she's not leaning in and if it can even be salvaged, because he's trying, and he's been trying this whole time, and she hasn't really put forward any effort to meet him where he's at. And then let's talk about a couple who is making progress. So we have to talk about Nikki and Shawn, because I'm surprised that this woman is cooking for him. Nikki does not give me that she's a great cook, and she said as much. She made him her mother's recipe for macaroni and cheese. She put effort into that meal, you can tell, and she even called her mother for tips on how to make it. So Shawn is there, her mother is on the phone, and you could tell mama do not like that man, baby. She said, okay, you know, her fake mama voice got put on, and she was kind and she was polite, but she was like, we'll talk later, bye. For Shawn, those simple moments of bringing him into her family are a big deal for him. He says that for him, a relationship is more than two people who connect. It's about the communities that support the couple, and I actually do like that a lot. Then she gives him this meal that she slaved hard to make for him, knowing that she doesn't like to cook. And he tells production the macaroni and cheese was okay, but okay is better than terrible. And this is what makes it hard to root for y'all, because you do stuff like that shows that you have very little care and concern for your wife's feelings and the hard work that she puts into making this work with you. And Nikki notices those little jabs as well. She said as much in her private diary cam footage, where she says that Shawn will sometimes take a dig at her, like saying she's a Seattle 10 and a New York 7. The audacity of men needs to be studied, because, sweetie, you were just taking a bird bath 3 episodes ago. This woman has just now introduced you to showers, and you have the audacity to say that she is unattractive in some cities? And what are you in every city? That's what we need to ask him at the reunion episode. What would you rate yourself in any city? And on the ride up to the retreat, they do make some astute assessments. I love that Shawn was able to call out the fact that Michelle had to settle again in this relationship with Cameron, but because she's a lover girl, she's gonna make it work. I also appreciated the fact that they were aware of how sassy Adam got when he made his comment, and that Shawn is okay with handling things directly. I think that comes from his training, working with lots of students and personalities and professors with all of their unique and eccentric personalities. So he was putting those communication skills to work on this retreat. When they got there, he did let everybody know he was going to leave in the middle of the night because his mother's 72nd birthday was coming up and they were having a party in New York. But speaking of Shawn, let's talk about his nemesis, Adam and Marissa. With Adam's temper tantrum, of course the table noticed it. They know it was triggered by Shawn. They know it was heated. Shawn gets there last with Nikki, and he takes him outside to have a private conversation with Adam, because I guess Adam was going to continue to be passive aggressive the whole weekend, and Shawn was like, it's not worth it. Shawn does tell Adam that his approach was bad. He was just trying to get clarity on how he feels about Marissa on a deeper level. And I think that that's fair. I actually don't think his approach was bad. I think it was just a call out that made Adam uncomfortable. Now, let's move on, because Cameron and Michelle are one of the couples, but they really don't give us much of anything on this couple because everything is smooth sailing for them. Cameron just has freakouts. Michelle reassures him, and they move on as a couple. But Cameron and Michelle stir the pot for the other couples. And so I really appreciated Cameron during this episode because he was checking the men in the men's conversations. He was asking questions like, Mecca, what are you here for if you don't think that Belle is your dream girl? He was checking Mecca for his unrealistic standards because we're all going to get old and ugly. And I know that's not a Hallmark card phrasing of what's going to happen, but I respect the ministry of it. It's true. It's factual. It doesn't matter what you look like. Do they have the personality? And of course, Mecca does land on the fact that, yes, he is growing physically with her, and she has an amazing personality. And while the men are downstairs saying some wild things about their wives, the ladies are upstairs consoling Tori. And I love that little moment where Marissa reminds Tori she's the Beyonce, and you cannot be married to another Beyonce in your relationship. You just can't have it. But Felipe wants to be Beyonce, and Caitlyn is more dedicated to hating Felipe than she is to loving her own husband, which I don't understand. Everything that could go wrong this retreat has started going wrong, and this is night one, y'all. We gotta make it through another 2 days of this. So at this point, it looks like Felipe is headed back single. We've got Mecca still wanting something other than Belle, or telling the world he wants something other than Belle, while also agreeing to say yes on decision day. Caitlyn has gone from Devin should never touch me to he's got the green light. And Shawn is showering, but can he be quiet long enough to save his marriage? So tell me down in the comments, who do you think is saying yes on decision day and who's gonna be a no? My list of yeses is probably 2 couples, that's it. And that's being very generous. And if you are enjoying my Married at First Sight recaps, remember to like, subscribe, and also hit that notification button. And I'll see you guys here soon.